All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to GDT's edition, I guess, of Pride Month, where I think, did I say last time that this is Gayer Denver Transit?
Correct.
Yeah, well, welcome to Gayer Denver Transit, everybody. You haven't got the microphone yet? Yep. Yeah. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Okay. Testing. How we're coming through? All set? Coming through? Yeah. Should be good. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I will do the introduction again. Welcome to Greater Denver Transit, everybody. This is our June Pride Month special meeting. For those of you who have not been here before, we are a grassroots advocacy group supporting a future vision for transit in the Greater Denver metro area that is faster, more frequent, reliable, and accessible, and kind of translating that into transit terms as being useful for more people. It's a transit system that we can be proud of, that we can rely on. So we've got a huge agenda tonight. We've got some really exciting guests we're excited to introduce all of you to. But to kick off the programming for the news segments, I will hand it off to my colleague, Saigopal.
Thank you so much. So we have some fun endorsement updates. For the first time ever, GDT has endorsed a gubernatorial candidate, and we made the decision to endorse Michael Bennett. Why we did so will be on the next slide, but we believe he is the best candidate for transit and housing. Our colleagues at YIMBY have also made the endorsement for Michael Bennett. We've also endorsed Michael Doherty. There is no Michael bias in our endorsements. I just want to make that clear. We made this endorsement decision because he is also, of the candidates we chatted with for Attorney General, the best candidate for transportation. And speaking a bit towards Michael Doherty, what we heard that we really liked was an emphasis on how the Attorney General's role, which is historically not directly connected to transit, but Michael was able to connect the Attorney General role to transit fare enforcement, operator safety, and connecting like citation collections for bus lane enforcement and like violations on the bus as a potential revenue source for RTD, and that was unprompted. So the fact that Michael is willing to talk about transit from the AG, which is not typically an Attorney General's like core area of expertise, was heartwarming, and none of the other candidates we talked to had that. But yeah, so we made these endorsements. This is the historic first time we've made those endorsements. And we're in the process of finalizing some other endorsements, which Chandler will give a quick overview about.
Yeah, Mike. So yeah, we also sent candidate questionnaires to a couple of important districts that are coming up right now. We sent one to the federal. Yes, we sent one to House District 1 candidates. We're awaiting their responses. And then we also sent it to Senate District 34, which is Julie Gonzalez's seat right now. And so we have a lot of interest, and a lot of those candidates actually reached out to us first directly, which I think is a great sign about Greater Denver Transit. And we will share those hopefully as soon as we get those on the Slack, and hope to have a decision made by early next week.
Yeah. Amazing. Any questions about the endorsement process? Going once, going twice? Sold. All right, speaking a bit more about our endorsement for Michael Bennett, we made this decision after a ton of deliberation on June 10th, and we did so for 4 reasons. For folks who read his questionnaire, a couple of those were evident in his answers relative to Phil Weiser, and that was an invitation to Greater Denver Transit to collaborate on setting BRT standards, which, given how conversations about the future of RTD and Colorado's mobility system is looking like, BRT is going to be a very key component and likely going to be the big thing that, from a physical capital perspective, like that is what we're going to be investing dollars into for the near future outside of FRPR. So making sure that we're able to get that right is so important. And we've also started conversations with Dr. Cog now that we have this in motion. Secondly, we were in the questionnaire, we were told that we would also be invited to collaborate on who the next head of CDOT would be, as well as RTD board member decisions, which, because of the recent bill that passed, means that the governor will have a lot more say in who the RTD board members, at least 3 of them, would look like. So that's super important. There was a willingness to engage on transit-oriented development, and both from recent debate answers as well as from the questionnaire, a willingness to use the tools available to the state to ensure that we do build transit-oriented development so we can get ridership. And lastly, Michael brought novel funding ideas for transit, specifically his cap and invest idea, which historically we know has raised a lot of money for transit in California and Washington. The onus is on us now to continue pushing the conversation so that other priorities don't crowd out that funding for transit. But the fact that we do have that being offered is so important. All right, any questions?
And really a huge amount of work being put into this by Chandler, by Saigopal, by Emma and June to make this process as robust and fair as we can possibly make it. So really appreciate you guys. All right, so this part sucks. We realized last week, it was announced from the Bay Area Transportation Authority, BATA, they are up in Traverse City, Michigan, that they've approved a contract for Patrick Cruiser, who is our COO, serving as RTD COO today, has been at RTD for about a year now, which creates a vacancy. And this is going to be a very quick move. According to the board meeting, they announced that he will begin his new role in Michigan as soon as the 22nd, so that's not very long from now. So I think from a personal standpoint, I've been exceptionally impressed with Patrick. I think he has been someone who has overseen very rapidly a change in tone at RTD, pressuring, advancing new ideas, fixing problems from behind the scenes. And I have just an enormous amount of admiration and respect for him, so I'm really sad that we're losing him. I think, speaking with the other leads before this meeting, we're really, really grateful for the collaboration, and we wish him all the best in future endeavors, but damn it, we wish he would stay. Okay, on a happier note, the B and the G line are back. So 15-minute service returns to the G on June 7th. With the service changes, the B is also back to every 30 minutes at peak frequencies. This was one of our biggest research projects in terms of getting this right, working with RTD board members, working with members of staff, and we are really, really grateful for the collaboration that has resulted in bringing this back. This was a massive, massive effort. This contract is a mess. And working through it has been a really, really important milestone in getting kind of this trust going, and that we've made progress to make sure that RTD services are working for people. There's a couple of things that we're tracking on this. The first thing is that the A line, for those of you who might have ridden it on weekends, the trains are back to being short 2-car trains again. So has anyone here had an experience on the A line in the last week or two? Have any of you? Yeah? Okay. How bad was it?
Oh, it was packed.
Yeah.
2-car in the evening. Which day it was, but yeah.
And this is something that I feel like I hear about a lot as well, just even from more casual people who aren't really into transit. The A line is just our flagship service. It is so visible. So when you get home from a plane flight and it's 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, like it is for a lot of us who want to make the most of our weekend, you land at DIA, right? Not only do you sometimes have to wait, 29 minutes when you get unlucky with the time, right? Because it's every 30 minutes after 5 o'clock or 5 o'clock, 5:30. Also, right, 2-car trains, standing room only. That is crush loads. So more opportunities we think in the future to keep making this. We also think that the DTO contract that we have outlines that the G line should be running every 15 minutes until 9 o'clock at night. There's also some other stuff that we believe the A line should also be running more frequently later into the evening as well. So there's some opportunities, and staff have made some recommendations that we're really excited about. So something that we're going to keep an eye on. C line replaces the D line. This is something for us, I think, as selfishly as a Union Station resident, I'm really excited about this. But this was something that a lot of the work that Joe Meyer Cody Bryan and Saigopal have been working on in terms of this reimagining of RTD system is that the C line being absent, for those of you who haven't, have been newer to transit, C line runs from here at Union Station all the way down to Littleton Mineral in the southwest through Englewood. This line was really, really important because this connected a lot of people in the Southwest Metro with a single transfer to the airport. So as much as kind of the connectivity with downtown was important when it was the D line did the same thing just to central downtown, this connection of restored to Union Station was really, really important for people and was also really important in a lot of the surveys that RTD did with riders. So the Central Loop is out of service right now for the next phase of the downtown reconstruction project. We actually had a presentation from RTD about that at our last meeting, which you can find on YouTube if you missed it. The H line is going to return when the loop reopens, but the C line may be permanent. So there may be a period of time where we do not have a D line, mainly because of funding and operators. But I think we're really excited about this because this is going to multiply single transfer journeys across the metro and make transit in general, we think, more convenient for people in aggregate. So we're really excited about this.
It's also a lot better for event services, considering where a lot of stops are already. Following that.
Is your access to the way routed to the loop table?
Yeah. So, sorry?
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, so cheers, anyway, just a really quick round of applause for the board and RTD. This is progress. This is the map. We also failed to mention there's also a little remnant of what used to be the F color in red here in between I-25 and Broadway and Lincoln to add a little bit of capacity down to the southwest while this is, while we're in this period of construction transition. Okay, September service changes. This is really interesting. The 15L, right, which go back to 2021 and 2022, RTD's master plan at the time is called the SOP, System Optimization Plan. The 15L going to Union Station was a big part of that because RTD is preparing to install a BRT service, Colfax BRT. The 15L kind of being the proto bus, the proto BRT service going into Union Station matches that pattern, which we're really excited about. Another huge one, and this is something that came with board and staff collaboration, is the 83L being extended to Union Station, which is a huge one for us because there has not been a single bus that goes between Cherry Creek and Union Station, and we are fixing this gap. So this is also huge, huge, huge. The 83L. The 83L, yes. And then the interesting thing, kind of give and take here that kind of at least caught my attention is that the 10 and the 20, these are both buses that serve kind of southeast Denver or central Denver, are no longer going to run to Union Station. They currently terminate at DUS and they are being diverted to Decatur Federal Station, which I think there's some interesting ideas about crosstown connections with the west side, which are interesting. But I think we're going to have some more deeper conversations about whether it's worth it because doing this is also going to disconnect those riders with a single transfer journey for all the connections at Union Station for regional trips and then also the ski train. I have some friends who are hosts on the Winter Park Express, and as a consequence of the 10 not going to Denver Union Station, they're going to have to figure out how to get off and lug their skis a couple of blocks. So again, not insurmountable, but there are trade-offs that are worth kind of acknowledging here. We're going to dig into this as a group. But also there's an opportunity for all of you. Share your thoughts. This has been proposed, there's more to this. This is just the highlights. Is there anything else that anyone would call out was just really, really importantly different, Dimitri?
228 is proposed to be cut.
Oh.
They're cutting the morning service on the A line. They're putting in an airport long march bus.
When you say they're cutting morning service on the A line, they're moving the operating segment back to where it runs later in the evening.
It's not very much, but two morning trips.
So
The airport long march bus is probably the biggest one.
Yep.
They're splitting the 52. They're rerouting, they're extending a ton of service on the northwest and the transfer center.
Yep. This is a very Denver-centric slide. I will totally admit that.
It's not as big as those service changes, but there's quite a lot.
Well, it's hard to beat the June service changes in terms of magnanimity, but thanks, we appreciate that. So yes, share your opinions. There will be some sessions where you'll be able to speak with their team, the service planning team, directly. So highly recommend. Let's keep talking about this and refine our ideas.
You can also submit comments online until July service changes.
Yes,
So there's multiple ways to engage.
totally. So now a not so fun slide, and then I'm going to shut up and hand this off. The board approved a motion to kind of start preparing work to look at a 15 to 20% reduction in service for 2027. So this is just talking about how real this problem that we're dealing with is. There's a handful of board members who I'm talking to who believe that there's ways that we can reduce this percentage to something a little bit lower. But I think the majority opinion on the board appears to be that we're not going to be able to escape this. There is going to have to be some changes made to service to right-size operations in 2027, given that we are talking about a $200 million plus budget deficit. So I think this is something that's going to give us an opportunity as an advocacy, right? We've asked RTD over the years for more, right? I think this is a time for us to also level with the challenges that staff are facing, right? Where we're going to hopefully kind of put ourselves in their shoes and think through what are these really tough choices that are going to have to be made to right-size the system so that RTD can run a network that they can afford, especially in an environment right now where, you know, you look at the federal government right now, right? No one's coming to our rescue. So what are the partnerships, what are the kinds of things and trade-offs that we need to think about? So this is a preview for next meeting, and I'm going to shut up and share the conch here. But I think we need to think about as a membership over the next month, and we're going to have conversations on the Slack about this. Are there any categorical things, before we get into the network design consideration, some of the more technical work that a couple of our partners have been working on, are there categorical values that we as GDT would say in terms of what service preservation must be prioritized? Are there things that we can say and agree on that would kind of be our guiding light in that context? Are there considerations of mode in terms of these cuts, right? In terms of preserving more highway service, more rail service versus more local bus product, what the trade-offs are. Do we, as advocates, because of the capacity reasons, do we say rail shouldn't be cut at all? Rail, because of what it can carry in terms of 4 to 6 times as many passengers as bus, do we preserve all rail? Do we push to preserve all airport service? Since overwhelmingly the highest ridership routes that RTD has, aside from Colfax, most of them do go to the airport. Prioritizing, and of course the Flatiron Flyer. Prioritizing local bus service, right? Sometimes transit is a lifeline for low-income folks, making sure that those considerations are balanced. And then I think I would challenge everyone in this room to think about some really deeply uncomfortable considerations. Routes I like the 120X. It's commuter routes right next to the N line, right? Do we cut the 120X because the N line does its job well enough? The CV-EV, do we look at a rationalization of some of RTD's worst performing bus routes that are some of the longest distance routes and maybe cut them back to Federal Center or something like that? Would we entertain something that would be politically explosive like that, where a huge chunk of RTD service area might contract? Do we consider what the board has been talking about? Several board members have talked about cutting FlexRide completely. We like FlexRide. We just did a hike right over in Jefferson County from FlexRide. You know, is that sacrifice to preserve Access-a-Ride, right? Is that a trade-off that we need to think about? Then there's other stuff like the 0L and the 3L. Chris Nicholson would try to cut my head off by even mentioning this, right? But there's a couple routes, right, that are kind of a weird derivation of other more frequent services. Should they be merged together into an operating pattern that is hopefully something that the public would remember in the longer run and remove some of the stops? One of the benefits we have, Colfax BRT, a huge amount of work went into it to analyze exactly what these station spacing should be for a non-downtown bus route. Well, let's not repeat all that work, right? We can apply that logic to Alameda and Broadway. And then finally, post-Colfax BRT, and Ryan, you're gonna wanna kill me for this. We love the 6 and the 10. But when Colfax BRT is open and we're having to cut a ton of stuff in the suburbs and across the system, do we really not get to cut downtown at all? Right? So these are trade-offs that are painful. But this is the kind of thing that is going to be brought up by riders from across the district when their route is on the block. So that's where I would challenge us to make sure that we have the fortitude to actually think through this. So what else needs to be considered? We're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail, but I would like to invite up Carlos. Thank you for joining us from the university.
Hi everyone. For those of you who I haven't met, my name is Carlos. I'm a professor at CU Denver, and I've been working along with Saigopal and Stavros and just chats with people at GDT on mathematical modeling for bus network design. And before I show you some results that we have, I want to remind you, some of you, if you that may have seen, but there's a fundamental trade-off in bus network design that is this trade-off tension between ridership and coverage. So basically, as a transit agency, you can pretty much design for one of two things or a combination of the two. On the one hand, you can focus on ridership, and what you do in this case is focus your resources on high density, high demand areas of your city, like you see in this picture from this website from Jared Walker. So these dots represent lots of people, and so you send your buses downtown where there's lots of people. On the other hand, you can spin out your resources over a wider geographical spread, and what you would do to do that is cover wider geographical area that serves areas that don't necessarily have the density. So there's this trade-off that it doesn't matter what you do, you cannot escape it, and at some point you have to make a value decision of which combination of these two you're supposed to try to aim for. And what I want to show you is some work that I've been doing to give you to have a mathematical way of thinking about these trade-offs and coming up with recommendations, especially in the context of the COA. So if you're curious, what you can do is, this is a shameless plug, you can go to my website. And the first thing I want to show you is an interactive plan of what the current service plan looks like. So if you go to this current service plan map, what you will find is basically every bus route in Denver. And you can hover over the lines, they're color-coded, and it roughly tells you how frequently it runs. So for example, the 76 runs roughly twice per hour, so about 30-minute headway. And this is directly from RTD's GTFS data from a few months ago. So at this point, this might be a little outdated, but it's reflective of what the system was like a few months ago. Okay, so that is the current system. But there's a question of, well, especially in the context of the COA, we're thinking about how things might change. And for the moment, let's just assume that we're not changing the routes. We're fixing the routes, but we can only have a wiggle room in the sense of how frequently do they run. And we have to decide, what proportion of their budget do we want to spend on coverage? What proportion of the budget do we want to spend on ridership? And in the context of the budget cuts that are anticipated, let's look at scenario 2. The scenario assumes a 20% budget cut and a 60-40 split between focusing on ridership and focusing on coverage. This is what the ridership map that optimizes for ridership subject to at least 40% of the budget being spent on coverage looks like. It's a bit hard to parse, but it's more interesting to look at how does it compare to the current service plan. And so in this scenario, I am looking at, here I'm just plotting which routes gain frequency. And so an interesting thing that the math is telling you is that it's telling us increased service on the 20 and increased service on the 6. And also increased service on the Golden to Boulder line. But you can also see which routes lost frequency. And so the interesting thing to look at here is that it's telling us that the 15 Colfax is basically oversupplied, and that instead of sending the 15 and the 15L, we should decrease the service on the 15, not that 15L, just the 15, and split some of that service to cover the 20 and the 6, which were the ones that gained frequency. So this is a kind of, there's many things that you can look at in this map in terms of what changes, but the point is, I have a model that we can run that takes plans and proposes service frequency changes. And the goal of this, of course, it's a model, it's going to be wrong, all models are wrong, hopefully this one's useful. But to have this as part of an iterative process that whatever the outcomes of the COA are, to run them against this and compare what does it look like compared to the current status quo, and hopefully have a more informed quantitative information about what the proposal is good or bad. Yes, Major.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
One, with like considering the cost of running the route, does that consider like fare box recovery for higher ridership?
It just, the model does not.
Does not.
Does not.
Okay.
So what the budget is taken to be is basically the number of bus hours in the current system, and the new system cannot exceed that number.
Okay, so, and also I noticed that there's no rail on that map.
Right. The rail coverage has basically, there's over 7,000 bus stops in the Denver metro area, which induces over 49 million possible origin destination pairs. That's way too many for any computer, no matter the size, to account for. So there's all kinds of tricks and heuristics that I'm doing to avoid a number as big as that. As part of that set of things that I'm doing is whatever origin destination pairs are already covered by rail, meaning that you have a stop that is with an origin destination pair that is within walking distance of any rail, so any two train stops that I'm not considering within a set of all things that need to consider. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, the model is wrong, but that's all models, and hopefully it's something that we can improve on together, especially Saigopal has been pushing me to work on this really hard, which has been great, I appreciate. And if you're curious just to see what the model looks like, just Google my name, and I have this tab called Transit where I have more information about what the model tells us, and also if you care about what I'm doing, like mathematically, there's a 4-page extended abstract that details some of the assumptions. By now, this is a bit outdated because we wrote this back in November, December. 5 months have passed, so the model doesn't actually reflect that anymore. But hopefully, at some point, there will be a publication out there explaining exactly what we're doing.
And if you go back to the coverage, like the scenarios we not pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think every model makes a ton of assumptions, and it's important to take this as directional without like saying that this has to be how the system is going to look like. But is this like the current system?
This is the proposed for ridership increase for the ridership objective. Which one did you want to see?
So it's how they're cutting the section is one.
No, the one where the Northwest, like District K.
Oh yeah, so this is under a budget cut. Oh yeah, this is, you're familiar with this.
Yeah. So there's also political realities that we have to deal with as an agency. If we are solely looking at transit and ridership, like Maitri talked about, what about the constraint of, fare box recovery? The other constraint is, what if people say, I do not want to be a part of RTD, my city should not be a part of RTD, and they say we should leave the system if we're not getting what we pay for. And optimizing for ridership means that we are taking places where RTD is one of the largest like service area of a large transit agency, and we have a lot of suburban space and a lot of dead space in between where people live that we run transit to. And are we okay with cutting service? This map, the entire large parts of the Southwest and Northeast are losing service. So Michael Farrington, for example, would have a very hard time selling this version of a transit map to his constituents, right? And there are hard trade-offs with the COA process. This model, I think, is really meant to expose what those trade-offs are and force us as a group to think about what trade-offs are we okay with, as James talked about earlier, and then also what trade-offs do we, because at the end of the day, everyone is going to be advocating for, we want service to where they live. GDT as a group is going to be the loudest voice for, we want service that is dedicated towards growing ridership. And at the end of the day, that means we have to be willing to also acknowledge the pain that comes with growing ridership. And sometimes that might mean like losing service to some.
Just to give you a sense, like focus on this area and this area, see how they have no service and the ridership being the objective. If coverage is the objective, the picture is quite different. Basically, the other map lost all of this and all of this. Yes?
I'm a little confused, like, so it's showing, like, the GS are very thick.
Yes.
Like, what went into that said that GS needs more service? That's
So
really striking.
That's a great question. So if you look at what's happening in which lines lost service, it's telling us get rid of the 17 because I think there's a lot of overlap here between the like in the golden. That this corridor here is also served by the DS. So this area, the highlight is served by the GS, but it's also served by 17. So what it's telling you is basically extended GS so that this area is covered by the GS instead of the 17 and getting all the way to
So the GS and the 17 fully overlap. So
Yeah.
it's a subset of the GS. Right?
Yes.
And I'm just confused because the GS is not a high ridership route. I can't imagine that there's 6 runs an hour demand for golden to older service. I'm just kind of wondering where that came from.
I mean, it is coming from basically what the math is trying to do is accounting for the fact that there's lots of amenities here and lots of amenities there that are currently disconnected. And we're taking density of amenities as a proxy for what ridership would be. I don't have actual ridership data. And it's also hard to have ridership data on a line that doesn't exist.
And you can't disaggregate build a bridge by swimming across the ocean.
We are going to be kind of revisiting our partnership with the Transit app, where we are going to be seeking kind of a refreshed cut of ridership data as well. So for those of you who are interested in this, please talk to us after. We'd love to make sure that we're factoring in and looking at this from all sorts of directions.
And again, the model continues to be improved. Things like, fare box recovery, things like political realities. There are like a million different factors we can model. The question is, where is the juice with the squeeze in terms of our time, in terms of compute capacity, and a ton of other factors. So come chat with us after the meeting if you want to talk about more.
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up by saying, it's an iterative process. So there's things like what you just mentioned that are really hard from a modeling perspective to figure out what exactly the model is not doing that it should be doing. And hopefully, after various iterations, we get into something that's more realistic and actually. Okay, I'll land there. Thank you.
Well, amazing, amazing, amazing work.
And Carlos and I are presenting this at MIT next month. So that might be.
Which is also fully capped. All right, next I will hand this off to my colleague, Cody.
And back to the world of budget problems, we have the Bustang. With the south, north, and west lines kind of concentrating the bulk and spine of current Colorado transit. The south and north lines are probably going to be fine, just because they can be funded through toll revenues on like the north-south and on 25. Unfortunately, I-70 doesn't have that same tolling, so those funds may not be there for the west line. So CDOT and CTIO can't find funds to kind of keep the western line with its current frequency. That's probably where you'll be seeing some cuts. Outrider, which is usually once a day, because lower density areas, like Lar and Alvosa. Those are probably fine. It's a lower cost service to run, but the high frequency, the western line is probably most under threat. So
trying to sue Bustang for the accident. What's going to happen to the South line after that crash in a couple of days?
I can't really speak to that. I have no idea the legal ramifications of the pressure.
This sort of thing unfortunately does happen, right? It is a road, and roads involve drivers often making reckless decisions, and I think a lot of the bus staff have shown that they are exceptional drivers. So I think that's one of the important things to keep in mind.
The reason why I bring it up is this bus not even a fire engine that was responding to the medical call. Took 9 people out.
Yeah. So again, it's awful, right? I think we're probably not going to take a position as GDT on that topic, but I think it's just really important to contextualize it. People ask us about the safety of these services, right? Buses and trains are overwhelmingly safe when they're driving, right? So it's important for us, I think, when we talk to the public, right, to maintain a bit of this accident was horrific, right? It does not mean the transit is unsafe.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to bring up with the team.
Yeah.
One more question.
Real quick, remind me, what did the temporary hours
Back in, what was it, 22, 23, the state legislature essentially added to Bustang's service for just to buy more service, and then that ran out.
Did not sunset tragically.
So yeah, just something to keep an eye on. We just got to keep the frequency up so people can trust that when Colorado institutes a service that we're going to keep running it. A little bit closer to right now we're in a little bit of a lull in terms of for the Part of the Arts project. There hasn't been a whole lot going on we had a meeting on Monday with our media said, kind of a holding pattern for time being. But while we are excited that the Broncos are staying in Denver, there are some parts of the project that we're still concerned about, particularly the at-grade crossings that are to be added to the central corridor on the light rail. We currently have one on 13. They want to move to 2 more. So if you can imagine during a game day, lots of people trying to get out, and there's potential for a lot of conflict with a bunch of trains leaving the station, passengers being at the breaks.
Nobody drinks alcohol at an NFL game, right?
We're a concert. Yeah,
Or a concert.
So the goal for GDT is to put pressure on city council, on the mayor, essentially to push the Broncos to help fund some sort of great separation project for this. Because if we build it out with 2 freight railroads, 2 grid crossings, it's going to be probably not in our lifetime to see that fixed. It's much easier to do it now than a decade into the future, if there just isn't going to be funding for that.
And one thing here, we've talked to RTD board members about this and RTD staff, and what we get from them is RTD doesn't have the money, and RTD is kind of just going with the city of Denver to keep the Broncos in Denver, and RTD is kind of just, while they are involved in the process, they don't have the capital to necessarily push a certain outcome. And this is why it's so important for folks here to write to City Council to really show that there is a real risk of reliability issues as well as safety, right? We see like roughly once a month, every other month, someone is killed on the A line because of grade crossings there. And that's every life lost is a tragedy. And then every time service is disrupted, people think that transit is not reliable. And that is, transit only becomes unreliable if you make the design decisions that make it unreliable.
Not to mention for the folks in Long Griffin Park that want to access the site, we're creating new barriers for them to get across. So just for their well-being.
this is another issue that the city is leading. Folks that we've talked to at RTD, different board members who represent the region, are also of the opinion that if we were to remove rail from that corridor, A, RTD is not going to pay to remove rail when we are facing our own capital constraints as that agency, and then B, there is the question of when we're talking about 15 to 20% bus cuts, are we just placating a few business owners along the corridor to move potentially bus rates, but lead to a net loss of transit in the entire region? So yeah, more to come on this topic. And as part of the Wealth and Next Steps project, Cody is going to continue representing Greater Denver Transit as part of that work stream. And he will continue to update us and continue to make sure that we have strong policies for our team.
I'm going to ask for name cards on the outline.
Hey, that's what it takes. Okay, so if you are a guest or if this is your first time, ignore everything I'm about to say. Membership, as just a reminder, the pizza is provided by me, yours truly. GDT does not have any permanent donors. We have no donors at all aside from the members who participate. So this is the pizza fund. So if you had a slice to a pizza, this is not your first time, you're not a guest, scan this for a second. I greatly appreciate being able to bring you pizza. So give it one more second. Do you have a cooker? Okay, awesome. All right. So now we get to introduce our keynote speaker for the evening. We have a guest from RTD, and we are going to have the opportunity to have a conversation about EcoPass and the neighborhood EcoPass program. Jyotsna, can you also show us all how to pronounce your name properly as well? So, but thank you and welcome to GDT. Thank you so much for
Thank you all so much for having me here today. My name is Jyotsna, like Jyotsna. And fun fact at RTD, there's two Jyotsnas, spelled exactly the same way their first name. Yeah, she's actually important, like she's like an engineer, you know. And here I am. I'm the market development manager at RTD. So I do everything that has to do with any of the pass programs, EcoPass, College Pass, Semester Pass, neighborhood EcoPass, which I'm going to talk about. Anything to do with programs that are dealing with nonprofits, the LIFT program, I'm sure people think about the LIFT program. Yeah, essentially a nice big swath of things. We have a team of about 8 people, and only 3 of us actually work on the pass programs. Currently, we have about 600 companies that are in the EcoPass program, and we have about 68 neighborhoods in the neighborhood EcoPass program, so just some quick stats. We had 71 when we closed out last year, but a couple of them dropped out, but we're hoping that that number for the neighborhood EcoPass goes up because of what we're doing, but also through bus, trains, BRT, all of that jazz, right? And FlexRide, it does not include accessibility or access on demand, so that's something to note. And if the Broncos ride comes back, this will also include the Broncos ride next week this year. So it's pretty cool. Okay, some more nitty-gritty about the EcoPass program. The boundaries do have to be contiguous. So, you know, if you've got like a street, you and all your buddies are like, okay, we're gonna make an island together. Let's get A Street and B Street, and our buddies on D Street want to do it, but C Street doesn't. That ends up being an issue because you have to get everybody in it, right? So you could do 2 contracts with one with B and D Street, and another one with B Street. And Cody asked me a question earlier, like let's say a neighborhood signs up and they are made up of A and B Street, and then, you know, it's July and they want to add C Street as well because Cody was so convincing, right? And so can they do that later? Absolutely. You can adjust boundaries later, but they have to be contiguous. Apartment complexes, obviously, you know, they're usually like just one building by themselves, so they will qualify alone. Or it could be a mixture of like, you might have a neighborhood where you have a couple of an apartment building, and then you might have a couple of like single family residences as well that are all part of one neighborhood, so you can do that as well. Pricing is the same for market rate and affordable housing. As you can tell, 125 per unit per year is already like super duper low. And neighborhoods do have the option to pass the cost on to their residents. So a lot of places actually, like especially along the E line, they do make it a part of their lease. So it's just like, you know, when you come on, sign your lease, $10 a month, you're getting the EcoPass. If you don't want to use it, don't use it, but it's there, right? So they kind of have to put that up there. Another thing that Senate Bill 161 asked us to do was to put a survey tool for apartments on our website. So if you click on nothing, it's actually available on there. You can download it, and if you wanted to go out and survey your neighborhoods on your own, you can download it and do it by yourself. You can print it out and do it by yourself. Or if you wanted to coordinate with us, you would just reach out, let me know, hey, I'm going to be doing a survey at this neighborhood, it's called this. I'm going to be doing it from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., you know, this day to this day. And I was like, cool, got it. And our market research manager will basically look at that, consolidate those results, and send them over to you. So you don't have to do them like paper or copy, if that's something you want to do. Any questions right now? Cool. Okay, so this is my favorite slide always because, you know, show me the money, right? Everybody cares about that. So when you're looking at how affordable the EcoPass program is, compared to either the retail or discount pass. Discount pass includes things like the lift program, that's the income-based program, and any other discount you have, right? So regular retail, for what you get with the EcoPass is $88 a month. And then discount pass is $27 a month. And let's say for the neighborhood EcoPass, you're just assuming there are 2 adults in a unit or household. So you're just going to break it down to say it's going to be about $5.20 a month if you're looking at the yearly cost of $125, right? Versus like discount pass, it's $648, and then for retail it's $21.12. So as you can tell, like this is so cost effective. $125 for the full year. Again, so there's a little bit of the benefit cost benefit, right? Retail, you get it all apart. You want it this month, you don't want it next month, that's cool. You can do that. Discount pass also you can get it apart, and the discount is applied. So again, if you want to do it this month, next month, that's fine. When they bring the pass, unfortunately or fortunately, I think you're tied in for the full year. But let's say hypothetically, you guys went out and you got your neighborhood to sign up, and they just found that, you know what, conditions have changed, we don't have the money anymore, we already paid RTD the money, but we need that back. What we can do is we can always cancel your contract with a 30 to 60 day notice, and we'll refund you your money. So you're not like tied in such a way that, I say 30 to 60 days, because I think it's 30 days. It used to be 60 and I just changed that. So you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be harder to get out of a contract than it is for you to like get out of a residential lease. So that was kind of our thought in making it 30 days for you to get out. Yes, sir.
So I live in a metro district community,
Okay.
and we as residents are paying minimal fee to have other types of services done. If we approach the management of that, we say, hey, get this for us, and
Yes.
just pack it into our bill with everything else.
Absolutely. And I'll put my contact model currently is by utilization. So we look at only the base fare, and like, let's say, so that was another thing. Like, so it's 125 for the first 2 years. After that, it's utilization based. So we look at, let's say, this neighborhood took 4,000 rides times $2.75 fares. We only do that base fare. We don't even do the airport fare, and so it's based on that. And so, if we were to take paratransit fares, which are much higher, it would significantly reduce the cost of the contract. Any other questions? Yeah.
Do you find that once a neighborhood signs onto this deal, ridership increases, and if so, like by how much?
Yeah, the issue is we don't have a baseline. We don't know what they were doing before. We can guess, like we can go at this stop, these many people got on, but we don't know how many of those were actually pass program users or not. So I think maybe if we tracked it down, we could look at that and see. But we do find that I think about utilization once people sign up is about 30-ish% for the overall average. Which again, when you look at how much it costs to get started, even if only 30% of your residents use it, it's still very cost effective, and again, it's taking 30% of people away from driving, right? So I think there might be a way to find it, but currently because we don't have that baseline to see, what that would have been like.
And the program, I know, has been going on for a while, but this pricing structure might be new. Do you have data to, say, is there a significant drop-off in communities once you switch from the pricing model for the first 2 years of the 125 flat fee per household to the utilization-based model? Is there a uptake in communities drop off?
So I think because a lot of this is in Boulder, right, and people continue to ride regardless, what we do find is that in Boulder, what they'll do is for the ones that ride a lot, because we also provide a utilization report after that 2-year period is over for giving them the new contracts. When people are riding a lot, they'll take them off. They'll be like, stop using your card. We're just going to buy you a monthly pass because you're costing us too much, right? And so I think that also speaks the data quite a bit. But I don't think it actually goes down when it goes to utilization. If anything, we've noticed a couple of neighborhoods that have actually expanded their territory because now they're like, oh, we're so much below, because let's say their utilization came out to $1,200, and we're still going to charge them $4,000. So they'll say, okay, can we add these 2 blocks as well onto our neighborhood? And so we'll be like, sure. So if anything, I think it's expanded access more rather than lower it, but as far as utilization, it remains about the same. All right. Yeah, let me see. I like yours. I can log this up for you. All right. So administration of the EcoPass program. This was another thing that was covered in Senate Bill 161. They said, can you make it easier? And we were already ahead of that because we already did make it easier, right? So it was really easy for me to write this out to be like, hey, totally, I can do that for you because I already did it. And so before neighborhood EcoPass, to administer this, it was such a Goliath. You had to have multiple people on staff to do it because each and every person. I think a lot of people are also mad about this. Before, everyone used to get a card with their photo on it, right? So you can be like, here, look at my pass. Now it's just a MyRide card. And for most people, it's only a QR code on your phone. Just download the MyRide app, and it's a QR code on your phone. So that's, again, for the ones who actually want to show a cool card, they don't get to do that. But for everyone else, it's like, hey, I just moved into this building. I signed my
curious how this program compares, how the structure of the program compares to the ones that are employer-based.
Yeah. In what terms? As far as administration or
yeah,
jobs or?
I guess all of the.
Yeah, I mean, they're very similar in what is offered as far as what you get, you know, like all the services offered. And they're also very similar in how much time it takes you to administer them. It's exactly the same thing. And as far as cost, that's where it's a little bit different. Because for EcoPasses, the cost is based on what we call service level area, SLAs. So A, B, C, and D, those are the 4 SLAs we have. A and B are a little bit more the suburban areas. C is more of the downtown area, and D is Denver Airport, that area. And so they have different pricing structure based on that. And their contract minimum is $950, and that's keeping in mind that there's a lot of like small mom and pop shops that might not be able to. It used to be $2,400, and now it's dropped down to $950.
So obviously a lot of apartment buildings are managed by these national property management companies. When a resident maybe approaches their property management company about this program, how receptive have those companies been?
I wish I could say it really right, because if they were, we would be at more than 60 at the moment. So that's kind of been the hardest part for us has really been like, getting in the door, right? Because like, yeah, of course, I live in Colorado Springs. I take Bustang to come up to work all the time. And then as I'm going down, it's like killing me as I see all of those new buildings and I'm like, oh, I want all of them in Nico, right? And so that's really the difficult part is that like getting into the door. And so even when they hear about it and they're like, oh wow, I can pass the cost on. Some of them are like, yeah, let's do it. But really, I think the pressure has been coming in more with like when there is affordable housing grants, because like the CHAPA applications, whenever they're putting that in, they get like a letter of support from us, so they get some sort of a subsidy there. Or if it's like required by the city developers or whatever, right? Like you show us your TOD plan, and then that's in there. That's more where it works better, or at least that's the trends we've seen, rather than like a single advocacy. Although technically, according to Senate Bill 161, if the majority of the residents that are surveyed said they wanted the neighborhood or the building is supposed to provide it, but I don't know how enforceable that is. Chandler, we can talk about that. But
So can we get the grading departments to have the majority of residents?
I'm sorry?
Have these, so it's not the grant, Jasper Towers, can we have like all the residents here, considering that we have leadership?
Listen, whatever you want to do, I will do for you. So if you want to sell it to them, I'll sell it. Okay.
You've got me?
Oh, you're over there.
You got
I was
me?
trying to figure out where you were.
I'm still here.
So how to use the neighborhood EcoPass program, super easy. Like I said, you basically, when you move into a neighborhood, you're going to be like, hey, here's my email, len@abc.com, and you'll give it to them, and then you will download the My Right app on your phone. Use len@abc.com to download it. Once they do that, it pops up on your phone, and you write immediately. Or if you want a card, you just have to go down to one of our sales outlets, and they can just give you a card. So either or, it's super easy to do that. Here's my contact information. Again, if you are trying to sell this anywhere, you've got any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I love talking about all of our mass programs. I'm available all the time to chat. Any other questions?
I'm sure every community is like very different. What would you say is like the typical average revenue that you're bringing in say like an apartment like this for design? Some of it's working minimum, but
Yeah, a lot of neighborhoods are in that like $20,000–$30,000 ballpark for the year. And the other nice thing for developers, especially when like new neighborhoods are coming on, is like let's say a new neighborhood is coming on, they have and like we're starting in January 2027. In January we're only going to have 30 units. In July we're going to have 70 more units, and we'll be fully like complete by December. We prorate those accounts as well, so that we're not making them pay like for 150 units up front and charging them a huge amount of money that they that's possibly a barrier, right? So I think people have a lot of like misconceptions about what these past programs are, and
this in like a year or so. So we are going to do. So everyone, if you are able, please descend, and we're going to be on that corner of the building. Yes. So we might need to move this table.
No, I've seen the memes of like people crying. Like during buzzword.
Together. Yes. Please, I don't. Yeah. How about yourself?
I'm actually at.
You have too much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I gotta go. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great.
Once again, if I can't see you, you can't see me. Oh, scratch that, reverse it, thank you. Alrighty, big smiles, look at me. 1, 2, 3, GDT. There we go, thank you so much. Alright.
Now it's Emma's turn to present.
Excuse me.
How long are we coming to these? Yeah.
Cheers. Give or take, maybe 3 at this point. How long have I been here? Probably 3 years. That sounds right. That sounds pretty cool.
And I was like, suddenly I'm not against people playing music on the bus.
Yeah.
Like when it's good, I actually kind of like it.
So,
To answer your question, no, I'm not.
Guitar.
Oh, good. What if you wore an Iran jersey on one of your visits to Saudi Arabia?
come on in. Emma, do you have the clicker?
There's a water.
Okay. Now we resume our usual program. Events. Mike's. Come on, Mike. Yeah.
Yep, there's another board of directors meeting, and a shocking turn of events. This is going to be as per usual, please get there at 5:15. If you're looking for something to comment on, or if you're involved, we know we've heard from our students so far that they're likely not going to spend any money on borders or on the rail, but it'd be great if we could get more out front.
Emma, could you face the other way? Because it's
Yeah,
very hard
I
to
can.
hear you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sure. I'll try to fight the sun. not booked your train ticket, your plane ticket, your hotel/hostels, please do that. Fuel prices are still crazy. I don't believe anything Trump says about the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think it's going to get any better. You should just book it now. Like, there is no reason to believe these prices are going to go down. We have our loose itinerary, which includes dates from the 20th to the 24th. Come find me if you have any questions, any suggestions. We may be able to fit it in. Some more info we have on there is so great.
The key thing is the specific train numbers of this trip. If you want to do the whole thing, Amtrak 506 and 516, those are going to be the two trains. The 506 on Friday, the 516 on Sunday. I will note the second part to Vancouver is optional. We recognize that not everybody here has a passport. If you do, we recommend it because Vancouver is, I don't know, if there was ever a place that would like lure me away from Denver, I'm not leaving, I promise. If there ever was, Vancouver would be a little bit
Higher real estate prices really good too. Yeah, I will be in Vancouver a couple extra days for similar reasons. Having been on the bucket list for a while. So they will be a ton of fun. If you're even considering it, you're kind of on the fence, I would definitely recommend you just take a picture of this information because yeah, there's a couple different trains that go up and down Pacific Northwest between Portland and Vancouver. So ideally you'd be on the same train as us.
It's way more fun that way.
Yeah, also the new train. The new train is
So we might have an in. We might have an in. I'm not going to promise anything yet. We might have an in. So just keep your eyes peeled.
There will be trains and things to do. There will be non-train things to do. So if you are just a casual fan, I think you'll still have a lot of fun. But I think most of us are not. So you'll have even more fun. Yeah, and then it's Pride Month shopping.
Gayer Denver Transit is getting gayer.
Correct. Greater Dyke Transit is getting dykier. So we are hosting a Pride Mark Call for the second year in a row. I personally leading that. It's going to be fun. We are going to take a couple different buses that hopefully survive the service cuts, but if not, we should run once. You gotta do it. Gotta do it at least once. So we are going to start at Civic Center. We're going to hit up Charlie's, Tight End, Lady Justice, and Little Devils. Ton of fun, all great spots. That's me Saturday, June 20th at 5 p.m. Any questions, just reach out to me on Slack or afterwards.
Well, if you like riding buses, going for hikes, and classical music, I gotta admit for you, because a week from Saturday, on the 27th, we're gonna take Bustang up to Vail. We can take local transit from there to Booth Falls hike, come back, and then there's a show that evening, which allows us, like, to classical music at the Gerald Ford Theater. It's a beautiful thing to do at that. And then we can catch the last Bustang back to Denver. So full day, it'll be a lot of fun. If you have any questions, just reach out to me on Slack or anywhere else. I think Ryan actually asked.
Yeah, I asked two questions.
Yeah, one, it would be lawn seating.
Okay.
So like,
Do you want to just ask you a question?
yeah, what was the other question?
Yeah, so the first question was what seating are we choosing for the concert? And you just said lawn seating.
Yeah.
So okay, that's clear now. Second question is, maybe I'm incompetent, but I opened up the Bustang app and I don't see Vail as a destination.
So be careful which Bustang app you have
Yeah.
as well.
There is also a Bustang app for a reason.
There's Outrider, and then sometimes there's some stuff with.
Oh my God, it's Outrider.
You can also get a Bustang pass on transit app. You have that.
Oh my goodness. They should have an app for every single line.
Yeah.
It just so happens that there is state legislation that might compel that. We see.
I got locked in on this whole.
Okay, that's confusing.
Alright, yeah, be sure
We'll talk over drinks.
Yeah, we'll talk over drinks. Be sure to take this service before it
This is
gets
how
But I don't think we should, like if you're on the fence, this is not probably something we should say it's really sell out for, so, yeah. You gotta wait.
Gable.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Would you like to get an email from us?
I already get 2,000. I'm just.
No. Hey,
What's
it's
the
a
number?
good email. This email
only
comes
cost.
once, and it's very predictable. It comes at a frequency of 1 per month, which is terrible for everything except for an email. So we get on the first of the month, and it has everything that we know about that will happen in the coming month, all in one place. So it's a wonderful place. It's called Frequency. I'm just going to give you a chance. Just go ahead and scan it. If you're not already signed up, a lot of you probably are. So I'm just going to give you like a couple seconds.
Also, while you're doing that, if you would like to write for our newsletter, that is also an opportunity that is available. If there's a transit-related topic that you're passionate about, and you want to broadcast to a big audience, it'll go on our blog as well as on our newsletter. So, yeah, anybody want to share more about that?
Oh, just about writing? Yeah, so lots of opportunities for writing coming up. We're even doing some work on the website to try to make it a little bit easier to navigate, and also we want to hear a lot from you. We're also joining a shared urbanist coalition here in a little bit, coalition website, where we'll be posting a lot of things, just about transit and all sorts of important developments going on in our region. So we want to hear from you. We need to produce content, so writers are always appreciated. Yes, ma'am.
So that will be, we'll be consolidating our website.
No, thank you for clarifying that. So we'll still have our own website, of course, but there's going to be another website. It's actually going to be called denvercity.news. It's going to contain us, EMP Denver, PRIDEalong, Denver Streets Partnership, and many others as well. And it's just going to be like a one-stop shop for so many of the urbanist news that we so much love here and there.
Yes.
They're in there as well.
Yeah, we're thinking that's what this is.
That's the original site. Yeah, it's very sad. All right, everybody get a chance.
Time to stand up and do stuff. Give me 2 minutes before you do that. So our activity for today is really about how do we get people engaged? And first question here is, what is GDT as an organization, right? I think we do a lot of things. We are a place that creates, we do 3 things, essentially. We're a place that brings people together to talk about transit, to write about transit, to vent, to have transit-oriented events like hike, that most people in Colorado would not do transit-oriented hikes, but that's what we do, because that's us. We got to embrace it. The other thing we do is we are a policy advocacy group. We spend a ton of time poring over maps, over data, writing reports, collaborating with universities. There aren't many transit advocacy groups that have the level of analytical rigor that we do as an organization, and that leans into how dirty we are, which is great. We have to embrace it. Some people call us dweebs, and we embrace that. And lastly, from a politics perspective, this is something we're really getting into stride with. We are running endorsement processes for candidates and the RTD board, and that's something we've been doing for a few years. But now we're doing endorsements for city councilors, state senators, governors, attorney general. Like we've grown a ton, and the ways you can get involved with GDT are kind of all across these. And the hope here as a group is we can really find ways to engage and meet people where they're at, on the people front. This is where there's a whole theory about the ladder of change, of if we want people to do stuff, we can't expect everyone in the room to spend hours doing a complex bus modeling exercise like Carlos. But more people may be willing to donate if we were, an actual C4, which we are not yet, so don't donate. But asks like writing city councilors, showing up for events, maybe getting your building to sign up for a neighborhood EcoPass. Could all be fun ways where these are lower stakes ways to engage with GDT. So, on that note, I really want folks to think about which of these three passion areas speaks towards like why you are part of GDT. And I'm gonna like recruit some of my colleagues here. In that corner, if you could hang out with Gable and Emma to talk about the people side of things. And really like, what are ways we get more people to show up? How do we become a better space for venting? How do we do more events? How do we do like some of the EcoPass stuff? That's what you're going to talk about over there. Somewhere in the middle over here, Cody, Joe, and Carlos, if y'all can hold down the 414 policy and really talk about how do we do policy better? Like how do we write better reports? And also what are ways in which we can engage people on the policy, on the nerdy things that we do? Maybe it's social media that, and like creating posts that make these complex topics more accessible. Maybe it's blog writing about these. Like, I don't know. That's what we're going to try and figure out. And then in that final corner over there, joining James and Chandler to talk about politics. And essentially, how do we grow GDT's reach? How do we get people to be more excited about RTD candidates, state candidates, the governor? Like, what do we need to do as an org there? So yeah, now you can all stand up and find your passion area. People, policy, politics.
Places where you need to be are located.
And the idea here is we're going to take 20 minutes. We'll take 20 minutes to talk about these and have one person or two people present out.
Alright, who's going to be Sarai? Who's the next speaker? This is the policy one. Floor, sir.
Yes, we're going to reverse order. Why
The
did
microphone.
Okay, we're going to start right by the table. Why did you pick politics and then go through your list of suggestions from least effort to highest effort?
Okay.
And also introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Fisher. I'm also running for City Council District 10, so I'd be happy to talk to any of you about that afterwards. With respect to politics, I chose politics because, and I think it's where the rubber meets the road. You know, we are all nerds about this kind of stuff. We like to get into the details, but if we actually want to see any of those details realized, we need to get down and dirty with politics. We have sort of a grab bag of suggestions here. I'm not sure I can order them in short term to long term, or least difficult to most difficult order, so I'll just do a quick summary. The first is to increase diversity in advocacy circles, and some ideas to do that were to tie public transit to other issues that people care about, whether it is climate, whether it is disability rights, whether it is, pick your issue.
President of Disability Strong Democrats, Colorado.
Yes, I saw your flyer earlier. In addition, to diversify our meeting times. So, a lot of us are professionals who work 9 to 5-ish. We have the luxury to be here on a Thursday evening to talk about these kind of issues. A lot of people that we want to bring into the coalition that would be politically helpful for us work on odd shifts, or just are not able to devote time in a kind of regular manner that we can. Second is get more involved at the state level. State legislators should know GDT leads and should reflexively go to GDT leads on transportation issues the way they go to Conservation Colorado on environmental issues. Expand endorsements into state legislative races. I think we've seen that state policy makes a big difference with some bills in recent years, and playing in state legislative races could expand that success story. Set an ambitious narrative regarding what transportation in Colorado should look like in 2050 to get people inspired to, because nobody's really talking about that. We're talking about sort of short term, prevent this service cut, maybe add this bus route, and if we give people a North Star to work towards, perhaps those short-term decisions will get a little easier. Invest in a coalition of different mobility and urbanist groups. I think that's already happening with the new website that was mentioned earlier, but expand on that. Affordability is a big political issue right now. It's timely and compelling. Tie transit into that narrative. And then the last thing is sort of a counter to the aspirational narrative, which is, I think, one of the problems in advocacy circles is often that advocates are not concrete and specific enough. They come in and they say, we want more transit, we want better transit. That doesn't really give policymakers anything to latch on to. Instead, I think you want to come in and say, we want to redo the bus routes in downtown Denver, and we want to do it on this timeline, and we want to do it in this way, and here are going to be the benefits that accrue from doing that. We'd like you to help us make that a reality. So both set like a top line vision and to be very specific about individual steps. Thank you.
Very good.
One group that didn't follow instructions, policy team chose to have Toby as their speaker. It's okay. We're changing the policy.
Yeah. Kind of more of like what's sort of informing the people and the politics side is the policy. And like how do we start to this, like what is the ground level for that for engagement? And for what we kind of came up with is one, like just reading the policy paper and maybe a little summary, like 1, 2 sentences. What are your thoughts about that? Like that could be a low level way for people to get involved in the policy side. We also discuss, at least for like our website internally at GDT, is creating resources so people can move up the ladder. Like there's a lot of expertise in this room and in this organization that we can kind of lean on. So people just knowing where to grab those resources and to ask people the questions. Like, hey, how do I do this? It's a really important step. I think Joe was mentioning that we kind of created, one want to create a template so people know what sort of expectations are when we're putting out policy, and like what are the considerations we're making when we're thinking about that. What are the resources that RTD has? Like, you can't just say, oh, everyone gets a 15-minute bus. Not realistic. Like, how do we work within the confines of what's actually possible? It was also mentioned like another step up would be essentially creating a policy visualization. Like, where are these programs at? Like, let's say Colorado BRT. Like, where is that in the pay? Like, where is that geographically? Situation? Who's involved with that? And obviously, this is all sort of building towards like the actual outcomes, but with policy like that may be able to offer more people on the people side, people on the political side to like kind of take that policy and run with it. Yeah, obviously we are meeting today, making presentations and actually presenting in different groups of people. That's one or two steps up of like instead of just being at a meeting, you're actually engaging with it. And then like beyond just this meeting here is also speaking with like city council, with RTD board, and like getting that policy to like a higher level, more awareness across the board. And if there's like something within that like really latches onto you, you just kind of take that point, like find a policy that calls to you, and then you bring other people in. And that's how you just slowly over time become a leader. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much. These people, who's voting people for
Hello, my name is King. That's short for King and A. I'm relatively new here. My friend over here, Ian, dragged me around to do a lot of different political things. And not a lot of people have really politically active friends. A lot of my family, a lot of my friends, people I know, don't know about organizations like this. When I first came to a group like this, I was really surprised. Like, there's a lot of people out here that actually care about this. And that's really important. You know what I mean? I feel like I chose people because when I hear politics and policies, if you tell me money and numbers, I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. But if you tell me to like get people together and have us like group up and like do something, I feel like that's something I can get behind. And so one of the things we're talking about is like more social media engagement. This is one of the, I guess, biggest important ways we need to meet people where they are. Where we are is in our phones or at places. So we need to go to like these big events like Comic-Cons, like these festivals, Pride festivals. There's a lot of different opportunities for us to have like a table, these public basic events where we can go out to where these people are and say, hey, you like trains? You came here via train? You wish you could have came here via train? You wish you didn't have to pay for all this gas money? Use the train, use the buses. I also believe that we should go to the pride floats, get the boots on the ground, find more small ways to get involved for these larger, bigger projects where we can all kind of group up together. Here's a crazy idea I want to pitch to everybody, mascot. I think you got the power of the Grogu. You can really get a lot of people behind a cute animal, small mascot. Some ideas is trying to like sell merch to like, oh my God, that's the Greater Denver Transit Lion or something. Or they're here at the nice game. How we're gonna do this? Let me figure out how to initiate this. Just send ideas of what type of animal, what type of idea you want.
Is it lion vibes that we give?
Yeah.
Is that just kind of
It's changing it to get neighbors to
Oh, their opinions on transit, their opinions on what's going on. Try to remind them that there's a lot of different reasons why you want to use the train or the bus to get around places. Just because you might be like a really old retired person who never takes the train and drives anywhere doesn't mean that we can't help everyone else who does so. So yeah, that's people.
Anyone wants to be the first person to be interviewed for the new transit takes that GDT is doing? We're going to chat on the 15 while going to the bar, but I think we have 1 or 2 more slides before we go to the beer.
Do you have your card?
Yeah, do this.
Hell yeah.
Make sure you reshare your screen, James.
Oh, man. I got it.
No, technically.
You're a software engineer here if you need to learn how to use a computer.
Like 9
Oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing.
And cybersecurity engineer.
It's a Unix system.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
That was wrong.
I know how this works.
I know I need you to share again. One more time.
I assume people were taking it. I didn't see it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The best.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a couple of candidates in the room.
We do have a few candidates in the room.
Do any of our candidates have any updates they would like to share?
Ooh, I do.
Come on up if you're a candidate, or if you are trying to get a specific issue resolved. But yeah, if you're a candidate, you want to make any announcement or updates about how things are going, feel free to come on up and take 30 seconds to a couple minutes.
Well, so great news. Yesterday I turned in my petitions at the You need to turn in 250 signatures to get on the ballot, and some people do, 400, 450, that's enough to get on the ballot. I turned in 712 signatures. And then the other news is that it was on TV on Tuesday evening on Denver 7, talking about RTD service changes, RTD plans to cut Route 228 in Superior. And I did a little bit of grassroots advocacy effort. I put up a website, savethe228.com, and I went out with some flyers I printed off and a roll of tape, and I stuck a flyer up on all 71 bus stops along that route.
Did you ride the 228 from one stop to the next?
That would have taken 2 years. It really comes once
You're
an
the
hour.
first I know who might do it.
I did on my one. It was very fast. But it got the attention of Denver 7 News, and so we did some grassroots advocacy effort there, as it goes with the roll of tape.
Nice.
For those that don't know me, I'm Joe. I'm also running for the RTD board, locally not against Jack, in a district seat here in Northwest Denver. As far as updates go, I'm not as fast as Jack at many things, including collecting petitions. So, if you live in District C, if you don't know where District C is, but you do have a Denver address, come chat with me, and I'm still collecting signatures and would love to have your support getting on the ballot.
There's a very good chance you live in District C.
If you're in a fun neighborhood.
If you live in this neighborhood, this is your district. So.
Any other candidates who want to advise? Oh,
to get on the ballot for November, but he appreciates all of your support as always, and if you need anything or want to get involved, feel free to message him on Slack. So that's all I have.
On the spot, would you make a little update on the wraps, on our advocacy to get wraps?
Oh, sure.
Wrapped back? And everyone also just adore this shirt.
Yeah, no company
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so a ton of people who were here showed up and said basically like, we did this work to get these ad wraps for windows on transit. Let's not bring them back for some paltry pennies that like will not really save the budget prices we're about to have. And so it got squashed in committee, and it sounds like as long as nothing awful resurfaces, we should be good. And we are not getting ad wraps back on this transit system that still hasn't got rid of them yet. So,
all right, here's to the board. Director Nicholson like to say a word.
Yeah, just to chime in on that. So first off, really appreciate everybody who did get involved and spoke up. It worked. I spoke to the staff this week. It's not going to happen.
Very briefly, on behalf of Coleman, again, huge thank you all for our GDT support. We're not quite as impressive as Jack, but we are turning in 500 signatures on Tuesday. Woo! Volunteers in this room, so again, thank you all so much. On a different note, as was very effectively summarized by our GDT leads, we are facing a budget crisis coming next year. That budget crisis is overwhelming, and we need to have every tool in the toolbox to be able to take that on.
$2 billion, right?
Huh?
$2 billion, right?
In the statewide budget, it's a little bigger than that, and for RTD, it's about $200 million. Yeah. For our purposes, we need to have every tool in the toolbox. Who here has heard about the graduated income tax? We got some hands. I figured this would be a pretty active group, but for those of you who have not heard about it, currently in the state of Colorado, we have a flat 4.4% tax rate. That means everyone here in this room, all the way up to Anschutz, the billionaire, has the same flat tax rate of 4% on their income and on their properties. So, what we need to do is make sure that we have the ability when it's time to ask the taxpayer to help shore up this budget shortfall when it comes to this $200 million of RTD's budget, and in the future, when we want to expand our transit system, when we want to make our wildest dreams about a Denver subway, about a Tokyo-level system come true in this state, we need to be able to go to the voters and not just say, hey, we need you to chip in. We need to be able to say, hey, we need the richest and most powerful people in our state who are taking advantage of us to chip in and pay their fair share. We need them to be able to pay. So, the way this graduated income tax works is it breaks up that flat 4.4%. It makes it so that everyone pays a different share. It asks the millionaires, anyone who makes more than $1 million a year, to pay a little bit more. Everybody else pays a little bit less. It breaks up that 4.4%. And in the future, when we want to ask taxpayers to have the ultra-wealthy chip in more, we can actually do that. So if any of you have not had the chance, I have the petitions right here. Come sign with me. Make sure that your voice is heard. Hell yeah, get on that. Make sure you're signing in black. I have pens. What's that? Shoot, fire off.
Are there any competing petitions out there that people should be aware of?
I love that you asked that question. That's a great question. There is another ballot measure, thank you so much, that is on the ballot that is being circulated as we speak. That is to cap income tax. That is to lock us into that 4.4%. So that if we ever have to ask you to that. Good Lord, thank you so much.
I'm an organizer, I come with pens.
If that ballot measure passes, that means we will be locked at that 4.4% for the foreseeable future. That would mean not only can we not ask the ultra-wealthy to pay their fair share to make sure that we can have that robust transit system, it will also mean that we won't be able to ask for a tax increase at all when it comes to income taxes. We will be stuck here in this budget shortfall, plummeting as a state, plummeting as a transit agency. So we need to combat that. Do not sign that damn petition. Tell all your friends and neighbors, do not sign that petition, and sign this one. It is so, so important. If you have not
of you who do not know, I am now an employee of the Front Range Passenger Rail District. As a reminder, for those of you who've maybe been coming around for a while, I've recused myself of all rail votes as a GDT lead, but I get to talk to you about this Colorado Connector, right? We named it.
It's not Fred.
It's not Fred. It is not Fred. The voters have spoken. It is Coco. If you go to www.coloradoconnector.com, the most helpful thing all of you can do for me is to film a selfie video for about a minute where you talk about why this train is important, how you use it, and why you think it's a really, really swell idea. So, if you haven't done that, please make these videos because I'm responsible for helping post them. And it is a human touch. I've got lots of sexy pictures of trains. You guys know me. I've got all the videos and all that stuff. What I need is people. I need people adding the human element to this to help us tell this story. So.
And if you make it on FRPR's social media, we will feature you on GDT side, which obviously is the more aggressive place to be featured.
Yes, we do. We have 2 more stickers. So.
Okay, last but not least, I believe we have June, right? Talking about
It's amazing. I think I've got my final slides still locked in. Yes, I do. Okay. Hi, everyone. Y'all know me. I'm June. I'm also running for the Council District 10. And cognizant of the fact that it is late and I know we all want to go somewhere else, I'm going to keep this really short. So first of all, let's talk about what District 10 is. Denver City Council District 10, you are in it. It is the densest district of our entire city. It is where most of our transit runs through. It's Union Station, Civic Center. It's Cap Hill, it's Congress Park, it's Cheeseman Park. It is where the Colfax BRT runs. It's where our TD system is centered around. And that means that this city holds a lot of power to make transit fast, frequent, and reliable and accessible for everyone. For a very long time, the city of Denver has not leaned in on making transit better in our city. It has been handed off to RTD and say, oh, you go do it. But the city controls the roads. The city can add transit signal priority to all signals where RTD bus routes are in the city. The city can paint bus lanes everywhere that we want. The city can buy every single bus stop used by 15 to 30-minute bus routes in the city and build proper covered bus stations with trash cans, a bench, and lights. The city has the power to do that, just that the city has not done it, frankly, because no one's actually given a shit about it. So, this is a big part of the reason why I'm running for City Council District 10, is because the government has an obligation to serve the people, to make our city more affordable, to make our city more vibrant, to make our city work for everyone in our city, and not just the wealthy, not just people who are already benefiting from the status quo. So, all to say, I don't need to explain my credentials to those of you in this room. If you've been here, you know that I've been with you for years, advocating on these issues for as long as I've been able to advocate as an adult in this city. I'm pushing for more affordable housing, pushing for social housing in our city, pushing for budget reforms to our city, and pushing, also I'd be the first trans council member for this very queer district. It is where Lavender Hill is. It's where a lot of my community has fled to from red states across the country, and I want to represent them and make sure that we are protected by our city government. So, all to say, finally, I've also got my QR codes on a sheet of paper for everyone in that area who can't see the screen right now, that I'm going to pass back over here. So, all donations to Fair Elections Fund candidates in the city and county of Denver, which I am one, are matched by the city 9-to-1. So if you donate $50, that turns into $500 for the campaign. If you donate $5, that turns into $50. It means that a grassroots candidate like myself can compete with corporate-backed candidates who have the power of the status quo on their side. I don't have that, but I've got the power of the people on my side. I just got to show them that that's not just an assumption and that it's real. So, if you want to support me, please donate here on my Act Blue, up to $50. We'll get matched by the city. Please volunteer here. We can do a house party. I'll come talk about policies. I will be on the bar crawl. Please come talk to me about city council. And make sure to vote in the Democratic primary this June 30th. There's a lot of really important races on the ballot. And thank you so much for letting me take up this time. I can't wait to, knock on wood, next June be your next city council member.
And stay tuned, we will probably have some sort of forum or debate with the EMB folks. council. You volunteered, Ryan, to not organize that.
Ryan will not organize it.
Okay, then Abe, it's all you. Sorry.
Okay, you just famously be in the BFB, so this is my counterpart. And on that note, we are not going to turn a bar tonight. We are going to have a little preview of the bar call. Like something 50 and tied in for Pride. Because the weather's nice, and I know a lot of people have tomorrow off for Juneteenth, it's a really important holiday. So it's Pride Month, let's celebrate, let's ride some transit. Yeah, thanks y'all.
All right. So thank you all for joining. Now, the sooner we can take this room apart, and when I say take it apart, I mean we can put it back together, we can all join for drinks. So thank you all for coming, and until next time, happy Pride.
Cheers inside. Let's go outside.
Well, see, if you've got the kind of tax structure to replace it, I completely agree.